Standing in the kitchen, Jane twisted her bonnet ribbons in her hands. "Betty, I have a rather extraordinary request to make of you." Betty, who was a sweet, unassuming girl, could always be trusted with her duties in the kitchen and never wasted time with idle gossip. She was just the person Jane could trust with her secret correspondence with William. "I have some rather private letters that I would prefer my aunt prefer to remain quite private. Would you post this for me?" As Jane held out her first letter to William, her hand only betrayed a slight tremble. Betty, bless the girl, tucked the letter away without hesitation. "Yes, miss, I shall have it dispatched by today's post, miss." The sensation of writing to William both delighted and terrified Jane. Oh, how horrified Aunt Adolpha would be if she knew. But the delight in sharing her thoughts and feelings with someone was a temptation which Jane could not bear to deny herself. In the weeks that followed, Jane and William wrote to each other faithfully. His letters were beautiful, long epistles. Jane's favourite part of the week was reading William's letters on her solitary walk through the gardens. Today's letter started out in William's usual eloquent style. She often thought that he would have made a name for himself as a poet, so charmingly musical were most of his passages. Jane greedily devoured each word, pausing occasionally in her walk to reread a description or a word of endearment. Halfway into the first page, however, the writing and tone of the letter underwent a jarring change. "My darling, I beg that you will not be unduly alarmed, but I have just received news of a very distressing nature. My grandfather's older brother, whom we have always called Uncle Martin, has passed away. He may seem to be quite a distant relation, but our family, as you know, is not large, and I am something of a beneficiary of Uncle Martin. Now, my dearest Jane, pray do not lose your way in the garden and muddy your gown in your distraction and distress for me. I am saddened by my uncle's death, but to the weight of that sorrow I must also add the pain of being parted by you for some time. Uncle Martin spent the final years of his life in America, and to America I must go in order to settle his affairs with his solicitor. I dare not hope my inheritance will be considerable. Most likely it is a moderate gift from a fond uncle. It has been some years since I last saw my uncle, and I am ignorant as to his mode of life in that uncertain land. I must not spend the last of my letter in words of sorrow and regret, but Jane, such anguish lay in being torn from you. Darling, I know this will be a blow to you as well. How shall we bear it? We must endeavour to believe that this will be for the best. If God wills, perhaps it may even be a means of starting a life together. Your loving, unselfish heart would not require it, but I could only count it as joy to be able to offer you something more than being the wife of a meagre officer. Oh, Jane, when I think of your sweet face as you read this, my courage to travel nearly fails me. You must bolster me with your faithful love and believe me to be most eager to go, that I may more quickly return to you. I shall write to you soon and send word of the ship on which I shall journey to America. Soon we shall be together again." Jane felt the pressure of tears prick her eyes and hurriedly sought out a nearby bench upon which she might calm her rattled nerves. William was to go to America. It seemed worlds away. She supposed they could still ride so long as William could find time. Oh, he was such a dear. He always found time to write to her and was full of consideration for her feelings. After so much time being stifled and suppressed by Aunt Adolpha, William was the one true friend she had in her quiet, lonely world. Jane wondered how long the voyage would take. She sighed deeply and pondered how she would possibly be able to appear calm before her aunt. "Jane, your posture!" Jane snapped out of her reverie at Aunt Adolpha's grumbling. William had embarked upon his journey to America only days ago, and Jane attempted to keep busy by working at the first sampler she had ever enjoyed creating during her time with her aunt. It was going to be a circle of violets and roses surrounding a few lines of Sonnet 116 by another William, though one not quite so dear to her as her own. "Love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, but bears it out even to the edge of doom." With every stitch, Jane envisioned her and William's future together. It was a pleasant distraction from the tedious conversation of Aunt Adolpha. "Another tragedy? Aunt Adolpha murmured disapprovingly. "Well, what can people expect? If the Lord has seen fit for us to cross oceans, he would have made us better swimmers, that's what I say." Looking up abruptly from her needlework, Jane glanced at her aunt, who was perusing the papers. "Aunt, of what are you speaking?" "I, for one, never wasted precious time on silly travels. I knew to stay where I was, and a good thing it has been for you, Jane, I must say." "I'm sure I have always been grateful for your constancy, Aunt Adolpha." "All these people dead! What a waste! Take heed of this, Jane, if you ever get any fool's notion in your head about travelling to foreign lands." Aunt Adolpha held up the paper for Jane's inspection. The headline stated, "Storm sinks ship. No survivors." Jane's heart froze in her chest as she hastily sought the name of the ship. The Poseidon. William's ship. Her sampler slipped from her lap and hit the floor. "Jane, how careless of you! The frame will surely be broken." "Not so broken as I am, but no one shall ever know why," thought Jane to herself. The end.